Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go.
Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole.
Welcome back, everyone. Today's guest is likewhoa. You might recognize the name from Twitter or also from his involvement in Ronin Dojo. He was an absolutely awesome guest. I've been looking forward to chat to him for some time, and he did not disappoint. We talked a lot about Bitcoin, Linux, family, and much, much more. Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you to CoinFloor UK for sponsoring the show. If you're in the UK and looking to dollar cost average, use my link that's in the show notes and you will actually receive a discount on your stacking. I also want to say, if you haven't already checked out Block 5 for 21ism, go and do it now. Make sure that you check it out before the new block is dropped on the 5th. Enjoy the show.
Hey, how you doing? You hear me?
I hear you now. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm alright. We're both babysitting today. I have the dog snorting around my feet, so I'm not sure if you can hear that or not.
I'm home, usually home on Friday, so I stay. I start my weekend early. So right now I'm home, and I didn't know I had to use a browser, so you might hear some background noise. I have kids.
It's cool. I can hear. It adds to the atmosphere. Are you on US time at the moment?
I'm Eastern time, yes. So it's around 1 p.m. over here.
Oh, okay. We're not a million miles away. It's 5 o'clock here. Thanks for joining me, mate. I am really looking forward to digging in and learning a bit more. It's been a long time coming. I know you're very heavily involved in all the Ronin stuff and with Samurai and everyone. So, yeah, it'd be cool to dig into some of those things today.
Hey, I really appreciate it, and I love being here. So yeah, whatever you want to talk about, let's do it.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'll start with, why is it that you're involved in the stuff you're involved in within Bitcoin? Why so much the privacy? Why are you spending time with the Samurai guys and doing this kind of stuff? What led you there?
Well, to start off, I'll start off with when I started out with computers, I basically started messing around a lot. My first operating system was on Microsoft Windows, and I started to hack around a bit on it, starting to run the internals, and I came to learn later on that it was very easy to basically break into it, and very easy to get into people's computers. And I realized, this is an operating system that's not very secure. So I was looking for alternatives, and I found Gentoo Linux as one of them, and I started working on that. I liked it a lot. It was an operating system that basically was introduced by a friend who told me, hey, no, I found this Linux operating system. It looks very hard. They have this huge install guide. You have to do everything from scratch, and it seems pretty difficult. And I like stuff like that. I like things that challenge me. So I started to get into it, and pretty much I loved it. It's a source-based distribution. Everything's compiled from source. You basically optimize everything. So the reason I liked it was I was able to set up a operating system that's pretty much tweaked hardware that I want, pretty much optimized to the hardware. And what I liked about it the most is that I didn't have to have a whole bunch of software that I didn't need, or any type of support for hardware that I didn't have. So that was very appealing to me in terms of optimization. The system was very stable. It ran fast, but also in a security perspective where I didn't have all these different layers that could be exploited later on. And with Bitcoin, I knew about Bitcoin for a while. I knew about privacy stuff. I was doing encryption. I was doing a lot of full disk encryption on Linux. I was doing a lot of networking. And for me, Bitcoin in general is not very private, right? It's an open ledger. And Samurai, this one of the best privacy wallets out there. And to me, it was like something that they were doing that kind of like basically what Monero's does, right? And it was very private, and it got me really interested in it. And I started to look at some projects that I can contribute to, and Ronin Dojo was one of the ones that stuck out to me. And that's from there. I reached out to BTC Excelco, and everything's history from there. I started to contribute to the project. I saw what they were doing, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm pretty much just very involved in it.
It's such a cool project. I had Zelko on not too long ago. Really good chat with him. And the whole system, what I really like about everyone I've spoken to is involved, is there's no pussyfooting around. There's no niceties. It's just we want the best, most secure, most private tool available, and we're going to build it. And that's what is done. It's quite refreshing that in most other industries and a lot of people that I've spoken to in the past, there's a lot of talk and not much doing. And it seems it's the other way around with all of this stuff. And that's very exciting. And for me as a non-technical guy, you're saying you're getting involved in this from a background messing around with Linux and being obviously very tech savvy and computer literate. I'm very much not, but I've still been able to get this stuff working, and I've been able to increase my privacy on Bitcoin. And that's really fucking cool. That's such an important thing that can help so many people. So I can understand the appeal. Was it something that you'd done before? Like, had you worked on any privacy technologies prior to getting involved?
So I have a company that basically does security consultancy. So I did a lot of stuff specifically with FreeBSD and Gentoo Linux. So things that have to do with encryption, working with SC Linux, working with GR security. So a lot of implementation when it came down to full disk encryption, network monitoring, file integrity, and a lot of data redundancy. So I've been very much involved in just getting things that are very much I like servers who are minimalistic. You have things that you only have what you need. I like systems that are very secure in terms of the network. Firewalls need to be very tight. I like things where the data is very secure and reliable. So I work a lot of with redundancy with encryption, specifically full disk encryption. So, like saying, we're running Dojo. The thing that I like about it is that it can work for someone who's not very technical, but for people who are technical, it's very good because they can actually go in there and see the internals. They can actually start from a command line. So, it works for the two different groups. So, that's one of the things that I like, and we're right now we're making it easier for people to get on board with it, to install it. This release coming up, a lot of bug fixes were introduced, and then a lot of the onboarding process has been improved. The way that you're going to be managing your indexer, for instance, right now we support two different indexers. We support Electron RS indexer and the Samurai indexer. It comes pre-installed with Samurai Dojo. So the way you're going to be able to handle those two, you're going to be able to swap back and forth between the two of them. So it'll be like a seamless experience. It'll be a lot easier. The way that we're handling applications now are a little bit better, and also there's some optimizations that are being added in the background. So for instance, when you the Bitcoin a DB cache value, normally we had it set at 1024. I added some logic on there for the new releases coming out where it will basically use 30% of your available RAM. but users can tweak it up to however they want, and that was help speed up the initial blockchain download. So that's one of the good optimizations that are being added to it. Also, the RAM will be increased based on the amount of RAM that you have. So a lot of these things are gonna make getting running Dojo, getting a Bitcoin blockchain set up and running a lot faster. It's gonna sync up faster, and it will also allow users to go ahead and tweak it however they want. As there's one feature that Running Dojo has that was added to the previous releases called the user.config file. Basically allows users to overwrite different variables that are used internally by the Ronin Dojo application. So, for instance, let's say that you have a NVMe drive, one of those little drives that looks like a memory stick. Currently, we don't support those, by default because everything's hard coded right now to use SD8 drives. You can go ahead and just change the primary device variable in Ronin Dojo to point to something else. So, for instance, to that specific drive location, that specific drive partition.
So you won't actually need an SSD then, or?
You can so I have right now I have several single board computers. I have a Rock Pro PI. This it's basically like a Raspberry Pi, but it's a Rock chip, and I have that with an NVMe drive. So I used a user.config file to set that primary device variable to point to that partition on there. So it runs through that hard drive instead. I also have another one where I manually set up a RAID mirror. This is not something that's fully supported in Ronin Dojo, but I'm going to be actually working on implementing this later on this year. So basically what RAID is allows kind of like data redundancy between multiple hard drives. So what I have right now, I have a Rock Pro 64 chip, and it's one of the Pine 64 boxes. You can get them at the Pine 64 store. It comes with a little middle case, and it has a mini computer like a Raspberry Pi. But it comes with a PCI Express card. This has a 4x lane on there. Anyways, you can connect multiple hard drives to it. So right now I have two 1 terabyte drives hooked up to it, but I manually went in there before I installed Ronin Dojo. I manually created a RAID 1, which is basically a mirror. It allows you to have two drives act as one. So, for instance, you'll have, it's still going to show as 1 terabyte, but it's actually two drives, right? So if one of those drives actually dies, the other one kind of takes over. So you have kind of like this redundancy, but it does not protect you from data corruption. That's the one thing that it doesn't protect, because MD RAID and Linux does not support any of that yet. But eventually, we can start looking at implementing different file systems, because right now Ronin Dojo only supports extension 4 file system. But later on, I would like to include, something like B-tree file system or CFS file system, which are next generation atomic based file systems that allow self-healing and prevent bit flips, which are kind of like a corruption. I don't know if you ever seen a picture like a JPEG, and it basically has like a line across it, kind of like a pixel. It's like a green line around it, kind of like a defect. So that basically happens when one of the pixels, the data on it, flips, and they call those a bit flips. So it's kind of like a corruption that just happens, and they don't, and file systems like extension 4 file system, X file system, most of the other file systems do not protect against this type of corruption. CFS has protection against that. So if you have a CFS RAID environment, you're not going to get a corrupted environment that way.
What causes these bits to flip? Like, what happens in the background that makes that happen?
It's very technical. I really don't want to go ahead and
yeah, no, it's going to all go over my head. I'm sure.
Get too much into that, but it's kind of like it's basically a corruption in the data. So it's just for instance, it just flips. The bit flips from like a 0 and it flips to a 1, and it's just like a single bit, but sometimes it's multiple ones. And this is something that the system doesn't even catch it as being like something like corruption, because what's going to be catching is when it can read those bits. But as if it's still readable, it's not going to say, oh, it's corrupted. So it doesn't know that it flipped when it shouldn't have.
Okay. When you got involved with this stuff, and you're saying you were involved in Gen 2 Linux before that, what was it that excited you about this? Was it the fact that it was open source software and you're looking at the security side? Or was it that this is pseudonymous and that you were thinking about the freedom side? Like, what was it that first drew you in?
What drew me in is just Samurai Wallet, Whirlpool, just the whole concept of that. I was using Vanilla Dojo prior to getting into Ronin Dojo, so I really enjoyed it. I liked it that I was able to connect this wallet into my to my own full node. And I like the fact that I was able to use the software that they were using to facilitate their coin join implementation. So I liked it that they were giving everybody the option to not having to rely on them for for instance holding your XPOPs. That was very appealing to me, and it's just something that a lot of people don't realize it, and it's good. I like control of my data. I like to I don't like to have someone hold my hand. I don't like Linux distributions where packages are compiled for me. I like to compile everything on my own. I like to know what I'm going to be compiling. I like to know that I want this piece of software with only this and that, not everything else in the kitchen sink included. When I when I set up Linux kernels on my systems or for clients, I make sure that the drivers, the hardware support on that kernel is only for that specific hardware. You don't need to have a server with a kernel that supports audio or webcam drivers or Wi-Fi drivers when these servers don't have any of that hardware. So a lot of distributions, they'll give you a kernel and it has support for everything. So I'm more like I like everything to be minimized, not just for the footprint, memory footprint. The software is going to run faster, more reliable, but more in the security type of aspect. The less things you have available,
The more complex, yeah.
it becomes more complex, and the more layers of exploits that can be available for an outside adversary.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So with Dojo, it's they allow you to set up your own node. Samurai Dojo has a Bitcoin Core on there. They include a BTC RPC Explorer, so you can go ahead and explore your different addresses. It comes with an indexer. Everything's on there. It's self-hosted. You don't have to rely on nobody. No, you don't have to rely on no third party. You're not connecting to Samurai servers, and everything is you. This is you. You basically have control of your capital with in this case is Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's very, very nice for someone like me to be able to do that. You're talking about something that's so foreign to me, compiling everything yourself, having everything at that granular level, which makes complete sense to me. I understand why you do it, but it's so far above and beyond anything I could dream of doing myself. Whereas running this Ronin Dojo with a little bit of help from my friend Bitcoin Q&A every now and again, when I fuck something up, he helps me, but it's accessible, and it's accessible to be able to host everything myself, to not rely on anyone else. And that's such a powerful idea. It's such an incredible thing that's being made accessible to more and more people, which is really fucking exciting, especially with what I think Bitcoin's going to do for the world. It certainly has the ability to do for the world. This kind of stuff is so, so important. It's getting to that point now where I'm getting people through that Bitcoin journey and like trying to explain to people why it's important. You know what it's like. Everyone is there just for number go up, certainly for the beginning, and you're lucky to get them out of that. But I'm starting to get friends and family who are asking me, how do I run one of these things? I'm getting what you're saying about privacy. I'd like to have some cash like money. I'd like to be able to use these things. And it's cool to have something that I can suggest for them. It's really exciting.
Well, it's very empowering, and I help a lot of people, set up their their environments, and it's very rewarding, when someone has a problem and they can't figure it out, and they got other people who are trying to figure it out, and they can't figure it out. So throughout the years, that I have been involved in Linux, I've always been someone who helps people out with their issues, and I kind of like it. I like fixing problems. I like helping people. It's something that brings me kind of like an accomplishment, and seeing people have control of their software, seeing people learning the terminal, seeing people right now getting that Ronin Dojo up, they get so excited about it, and they have this empowering, this feeling that, like, now I have my own node, I can do Whirlpool. I can go ahead and and browse an explorer. I can do all these things, and I don't have to worry about someone eavesdropping on me. I don't have to worry about a third party, a custodial having my Xbox, because once someone has your Xbox, they basically have your past and future history.
It's something that it takes a while to actually understand, though.
But it's a journey.
Yeah, I mean, the first time pulling my sats off an exchange and trying to get them into a hardware wallet and these kind of things, and learning about UTXOs and learning all this stuff, I was just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, this is so alien, but it takes time, and the more time you put in, the better things get. And it's a fun journey. Like, I get frustrated with it quite often because I'm not good with this kind of stuff. It sounds like maybe you've been doing this. It sounds like you've done this your whole life, and you live, eat, sleep, breathe it, and it just comes naturally. But it's still exciting for someone like me to take these baby steps and try and slowly, like, I'm trying to slowly get away from Mac and move across to Linux. So I'm getting my Pop OS running, and I'm sure it's not the same as like Gen 2 or one of these other distributions, but it's baby steps. And I love the idea of one day having control of my data and no one fucking spying on me anymore. It's an exciting thing to look forward to.
Hey, like I said, privacy and security is a journey. It's something that you're never gonna master. It's something that you're always going to be learning every day. I mean, I learn something new every day. I know a lot about Linux. I know how I can compile a kernel in less than 10 minutes. Give me a piece of hardware and give me a Linux configuration kernel. I'll go in there and I'll configure everything real quick. It's like it's just I've done it so many times. It's like second nature to me. But the thing is, I'm always finding things that I'm learning. So it's like a learning process. So it's not something you're never gonna get bored of it, because there's always gonna be something new.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I see it is, I know some stuff, but I'm not the best, or and I'll never see myself as oh, I'm the best at everything. No, I'm always learning. So I'm learning just like everybody else. And the way that I tell people is, don't look at it as something that's complicated. People see Linux as this big complicated thing. They see compiling software, make all those things are very complex. It's not complicated. It's just that everybody puts a big block in front of them, and that they just jump in and do it. If you search online for Linux C, it's a very good introduction into Linux in general. It's a guy created by one of the former Linux developers for Gentoo Linux. He was part of the documentation team. So he wrote this big piece that basically just talks about the Linux, the history of Linux, talks about kernel. It talks about the network configurations. It talks about the different base layers. It talks about the tool chain. The libraries to compile software, and it walks you basically through a whole process of how to start from nothing and to getting a kernel up or an environment up from scratch. And
Linux C guide, yeah.
Linux Z, yeah. What I'll do, I'll send you the link to it, because right now I think the site went down, but I'll manage to get the PDF from it, so I'll give you the link. It's very, very good. It's a good primer to learn it. But the other thing is, if you want to learn about Linux in general, just go ahead and just follow the gentle Linux guide. Just follow it. It also it walks you step by step through everything. It's very informational. It's very on point. It's a lot of reading. I mean, when I first started it, I basically printed out the whole guide. It was like over 50 pages. So it was, it was funny because I didn't have to print it, but I was so eager to learn it. I just printed the whole thing. So you just gotta want it. You just have to want to learn it. It seems technical, but I wasn't very technical at all before. I mean, when I first got my first computer, I literally didn't know how to turn it on. Had no idea where I was like, I think I was like 14. I didn't know how to turn it on, and I basically just just took the whole tower apart, took the whole thing apart, grabbed a screwdriver and took it apart, laid out all the pieces out, and then I put it back together, and that's how it clicked for me. So and that's how I've always been. I like taking things apart and figuring out how they work, and then that's how I go. I just roll with it.
You enjoy that process then of really working out how a system works, really understanding every part of it, and then being able to rebuild. Is it something you enjoy whilst doing it, or is it something that once it's done you enjoy it?
Uh, it's frustrating while you're doing it at times because you can't figure something out. But the thing is, sometimes when I can't figure something out, like for instance, if I'm dealing with a hardware issue or software issue, I I sleep on it. I say, okay, I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna think about it before I go to sleep, and usually I wake up with a solution.
It's amazing how that happens, isn't it? Your
Yeah,
brain
it's,
just
it's
ticking over while you sleep, and it solves these little problems. And yeah, it happens quite often.
yeah, yes, our mind is amazing. But back to Ronin Dojo. Ronin Dojo is it's a great product. Selco Guerrera, everybody out there, that works on it, crazy. Bitcoin Q&A. He's an amazing guy. I have no idea. He must have like 10 twins working with him because he literally he spits out content left and right, and he absorbs a lot of information, and the guy is he's amazing.
Let's go with a conspiracy theory here with Bitcoin Q&A.
That's not a conspiracy theory. No, that's true.
I think he must be more than one person. I love Bitcoin Q&A. He's one of my closest friends in Bitcoin. I chat to him most days, but I can't see how any man gets as much done as he does, and a full-time job, and a missus, and a dog, and all his guides, and everything else. I barely get through the day. And he's like, oh yeah, I get up at 5, I go and train, and then I do this. And I'm just like, what are you made of? Like, what? Is he human? What, is there more than one? I don't know. But yeah, I love the guy
No,
to pieces, and he's helped me a lot.
he's very eager to learn,
Yeah.
and that's what you need. You need that passion, to want to learn something, and to understand it. And he's very very good at taking something that's technical and explaining it. Another
Mm.
person that's very good at doing that is BTC Excelco.
Hmm.
He explains things very very well, and I got to give it to him also. I admire him. He very good explainer at technical terms. So, but the team is good. We have a lot of things in the work. We're gonna be at Guns and Bitcoin next month. Some of us
Awesome.
are going to be in Miami in June for a BTC conference.
I was hoping to get out there. Self Banked and a few of my friends from the UK are going, and literally I just got off a call about an hour ago trying to coax me over there. And I'm trying to see if I can, because it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like so much fun.
Oh, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm getting closer and closer to pushing the button on it. But I've never been to a Bitcoin conference. Like, I've only ever been to the Bit Devs meetups in London before they all got
Oh,
shut
okay.
down because there's fucking virus stuff. But yeah, I used to really enjoy going to those, and you'd have a beer afterwards or whatever. But I've never been to a proper Bitcoin conference, so yeah, it's calling me for sure.
Oh, all right. Yeah, hope you come to one of them one day. they're a lot of fun. The bit devs in New York, are a lot of fun. There's a lot of some of the stuff, in these, it goes over my head. But it's very rewarding to be there because you're there with with different Bitcoiners, and afterwards everybody goes out and they have beers and they talk Bitcoin. They talk about different projects that they're working on. They talk about different new wallets that they tried out. So it's a lot of fun.
I hear the BitDevs meetup in New York is particularly good.
It's very, very good. It's very, very good. It's one of top notch. I organized a few secret meetups here in New York where you know we met up at a place we call Treehouse, in the city. So it's a lot of fun. So I don't want to say who went over there because over here they don't want people to be together
Don't want
anyways.
dogs.
But it's a lot of fun. We recently just met up with BitDevs at the in Washington Square Park last week. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely want to get out there. Maybe I have to do a trip to America and spend a bit of time in all the different places and do a few of the conferences and bits and pieces. But it's been difficult. Like traveling at all where we are now is really hard. It's one of the things that is spurring me on so much with the privacy side is because I'm looking at what's going on around me and it seems no one's paying any
You guys
attention.
are not going to be able to travel soon unless you ask for permission.
Have a
or
vaccine.
Something. Yeah, or vaccine. Yeah, that's terrible.
It's fucking disgusting.
It's like you're trapped. You're trapped then.
Yeah, completely. It's taking away your sovereignty over your own body.
Yeah.
It's pretty worrying. I mean, we're quite a well disguised authoritarian country. Like in terms of like freedom of speech and things like that, it's certainly better than a lot of places. But there's like a sort of a weird. It's slowly turning more and more that you can't say what you want to say, you can't do what you want to do, and no one seems to see it. No one
Can you
seems
get arrested
to.
over there for saying something that you're not supposed to online?
Yeah, this is why I don't go on video. This is why I don't use my real name. This is why I'm doing my best to learn to be more private. That the smart thing for me to do would be to shut up, stack sats, and never say anything. But at the same time, I want children and I want this world to be a better place for them.
Of course, no. We can't shut up because if we stay shut up, then we're going to be more oppressed, Mm-hmm. Someone has to stand up and say something,
Yeah.
And that's the thing, most of the people now are not saying anything, and this is why we are where we are right now, with all these different restrictions and rules that are being imposed on people.
At least you guys have guns.
Hey, for now, they want to get rid of fully automatic ones right now, so.
That's a battle that, I've been completely honest, 5 years ago or so, if you'd have asked me, do you think it's a good idea for everyone to have guns? And I was wrong, but I would be like, no, I don't think it's a good idea. I've very much fully changed my views on the whole situation now that I'm looking at things.
Let's think about it like this. If let's say you're at a bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody comes in there with the gun. Do you think that person is gonna think twice or not to rob that bank if they knew that probably everybody in that bank is likely armed or not?
Yeah, they think harder. Mm-hmm.
They will think twice about robbing, committing any crime outside, because if that's why they commit it, because they know it's most likely no one's gonna have a gun when I'm going into this establishment, So if everybody has protection, it's less likely that crimes like that will happen. Robberies, assaults, those types of things. Will be minimized because the bad guys are going to think twice before doing anything.
Yeah, the whole argument falls down pretty hard because, people say, oh, well, you ban guns and then you won't have any guns. It's like, well, they banned murder. They banned theft. How's that fucking working out for you? That the bad people will still decide that they want to use them. You can still get hold of them. It's not like it just stops it. No, you can't.
They try to make drugs illegal. You can still get drugs.
Mm-hmm.
They try to, they're going to try to make guns legal. Bad guys are going to get it no matter what.
Of
You know,
course.
they'll get their hands on it, and the ones that won't get their hands on it are good citizens who otherwise, will, like for instance, they say you're living someplace far away, like in the country. Why are you not
Hmm.
going to have a gun in your house? You're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Somebody from the city could be driving by your village or whatever, and they can go in your home, and you're not protected, but they're
Yeah.
protected. You know, so
Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And in the UK, we can't carry anything. You get pulled, you have a knife, you get in a serious amount of trouble. If you have any gun,
yeah, I heard you can't even carry a
10
butter
years.
knife,
No, you can't carry anything. Nothing.
so you can't even make sandwiches outside. You can't make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
You can make the sandwich, you just can't cut it into a square.
Ah,
And you got to spread it with a spoon. Spoons are okay as long as they're not too sharp around the edges.
goodness. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
it's mad. But then police now, especially in the city, they'll all carry guns. That didn't used to happen. It used to be like
No,
a
they didn't used
truncheon.
to happen. Now they do. That's interesting.
No one can have guns unless they're the ones with all the power. That's a pretty worrying thing when they're saying they're taking away now our freedom to protest. A police officer killed a lady here last week.
Yeah, I heard about that, and that was terrible.
It's so sad, and it was an off-duty police officer. Everyone went out to do a eulogy or whatever you call it, to give respect to her memory. And people who were there, because they weren't supposed to for lockdown, were arrested. And now they're trying to pass a law where you can't protest and you can't do a eulogy. They're trying to take your right to speak, your right to move, your right to travel, your right to bear arms, and everything else.
So basically, that whole island is turned into a big jail, like Australia
Yeah, it's
used to be
fucked.
back in the day.
It's fucked. So if I come to
Yeah.
Miami, I might not leave again.
Well, I hope that they say things get worse before they get better. So hopefully that's gonna be
This
the
is true.
case for everything that's happening now.
Hmm. Yeah, I hope so. This show has brought me a lot of hope, being able to speak to Bitcoiners who care about freedom and who are actually making moves and doing things that help preserve that freedom and better things for people. And that gives me a lot of hope. Without that, I would be much worse place in my head.
Well, one thing you got to get yourself out of that operating system that you use every day. Get yourself on an open one.
I am. I've actually got Pop OS that I've put on another laptop now, and I'm just trying to get to grips with it because my Wi-Fi isn't working on it and all this sort of stuff. But it's not very Bitcoiny. But can you just do like a little shill sesh for anyone listening to this who's using a Mac and they're worried about switching over to Linux and they're not sure why they should do it? Not talking about Windows, because I think the majority of people understand that Windows is an absolute shit show, but a lot of people have this thought that, well, Mac is pretty secure and they're not spying on me.
So Mac in general is secure because it's not so targeted like Windows is. Because Windows, has most of the users that are on there. Most businesses are, doing business on Windows Server. They do a lot of their internal stuff on there. But like in Linux, most websites are hosted in Linux.
Mhm.
But Mac is not bad, but I don't think it's the safest because it's a closed source operating system. So
Mhm.
you can't see what's inside of it. So you don't know what's really happening behind it. It could be secure, the kernel secure, where it's hard to break into it, but it's not an open operating system. Whereas Linux, is fully open. You can download the kernel straight from the internet. You can set up your own base layer. You don't have to use Ubuntu. You don't have to use Gentoo. You can create your own Linux distribution
Mhm.
on your own. I mean, you have Linux from scratch, which is basically it just comes without a package manager. So you have to compile all your software yourself. You have to manage all your dependencies and everything. And by the way, that's another source of learning if you want to learn about Linux in general, Linux from scratch. But to me, Linux on desktop, it has come a long way. It works very, very well, and by default, it's very, very secure. I mean, there are environments where you can make yourself not very secure, but it's a lot better than having a Mac or having a Windows environment. I think that's something that people should, just move forward to, because this is operating system is fully open, and you can modify however you want. You don't have to worry about anything. And I mean, I've been using Linux since forever. Right now, I switched out of Windows a long time ago. I don't have I don't have any Apple products. I know some people bought some iPads just for the Clubhouse thing, but not me. Everything the only thing that I have is, no, I don't have any Apple products or Windows products at all. No, not at all. Not even for my kid's laptop. I put Linux on my kid's laptop.
And your kids, I don't want to dox how old or anything, but I assume they're learning in their little mini cypherpunks as well.
Yeah, my son is actually he's he's 7 now, and he's actually learning Python. So his I got
Awesome.
him on a website called codecombat.com,
Hmm.
and it's pretty interesting, and he's learning the whole concepts of of programming. So he likes it a lot. It's very interested. If you have kids, I highly recommend that site. There's other sites that are out there, to help kids with programming, but Code Combat seems like a very fun thing to do, because it's kind of like a game, and you're telling
Hmm.
it, you're telling the character what to do based on code. So he really likes it a lot. He's getting very, very far in it.
This is the time, isn't it, when they're young and their brains are like sponges, they just learn at like a crazy rate.
For sure, they absorb everything. Information to them is comes goes in very, very easy. And
Mm,
if it's something that they like, and if it's fun, they're gonna start doing it. So I say it's good to start them early.
definitely.
Now that I have enough, single board computers, I'm gonna start showing him how to put them together. So I already taught him about the different parts in there. What this does. So he knows about RAM. He knows about the CPU. He knows about the PCI slots. He knows about all the little connectors on the USB. HDMI. So he knows what all that stuff does right now. So we're gonna start putting everything together soon.
That's awesome. It must be nice to have that sort of relationship and be able to teach something that's going to be so useful. Like, I love this idea of it doesn't have to be homeschooling, but I love this idea that is discussed within Bitcoin that if number go up, it allows more time. And that time, if you can spend it with your family and pass on knowledge that is so useful, it's such a better way of living, in my opinion, than just 9 to 5, dump kids at school. People don't have any time with their family, and it just
No.
seems very wrong to me.
Too many people nowadays, they're too busy with their careers, going to, trying to finish their, they want to be so involved in their, money. Money is like such a thing, for them, and they feel like, I can't have kids now because I don't have all this money, because I don't have time, because I have to finish my career. And the people that do have kids are too busy in their career to spend time with their kids, because they work all day, and they come home, and when they come home they don't have time to spend with their kids. So you know you have a lot of kids nowadays who are being raised by strangers. When I say strangers, I mean like babysitters.
Hmm.
And, and they're the ones that are drawing your kids while you're out there, busting your ass, and they're teaching your kids the values that they know. And I feel that someone needs to stay home. For instance, my
Mm.
wife, she stays home, she raises our children, and that's the way I like it. I don't want somebody else to raise our kids. I want them to
Yeah.
have their mom or their dad. A kid needs to have
Mhm.
either or. Preferably both parents.
I completely agree. To have someone else teach them, it seems a little bit crazy. It's kind of like they're our 2.0, you know? We learn, we have all these mistakes, we do things in life where we go, I would have done this differently, or I've learned this. And then we're passing that on to our children, and they hopefully do better than us. That's kind of how I see it. And to not spend the time with them not defeats the purpose, but it seems crazy. That's something that really is one of the most exciting things for Bitcoin with me, is just, like I said, this time and being able to spend time with family and be able to think a little bit deeper about how we spend our time on this earth before we're gone, rather than just get into this crazy rat race, and then you blink and then it's gone and it's too late. And so many people, when they're older, they say, oh, don't waste your life doing this, make sure you enjoy the moment. And no one ever listens to the older people. They always just ignore them until it's too late.
Hey, family is everything, Family to me is everything. I mean, for me, family first before Bitcoin, before anything else. I mean, I tell people, you want to hold Bitcoin, right, for a long time. The best way to do that is have kids and pass it on to your kids. Teach them about the value of this technology that you love so much. Have kids. Don't wait so long. Don't wait until you're 40 and some people just wait. They wait, and then they get to this point where they're like, oh, it's too late now. Or they feel like they're too tired, or they don't do it, and it's a mistake. You have to have your kids early in life so you can enjoy them while you're young, and so you can enjoy yourself when you get older. Because if you have kids when you're 50, you're gonna be dead by the time you're 60, because those 10 years of your kid growing, they're gonna drain your energy.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Very true. I think you're closer as well then. If you have less of an age gap, you have more in common, I think, probably, and you have the energy to do all that. I keep putting it off myself because of all the nightmare stuff I see around me, and I see this 1984 world unfolding in my country. So I'm trying to find a way out. I'm trying to find a way to make sure I feel comfortable and secure.
Think of it this way: you're going to clone yourself so you can live through your children, and you're going to clone yourself so you can teach your children your values. So his generation, hopefully, is going to not upset what's happening now and prevent any future generation from suffering.
Yeah, that's true.
We need good people to have children. We don't need bad people, irresponsible people to have children, because a lot of people who have children for the wrong reasons, and they have children who are not going to do good, who are neglected, who end up on drugs, or end up getting in trouble because their parents weren't there for them. Their parents they weren't teaching them good values.
Yeah, it's about building a better world and
It is.
using the tools that we have, and it's very exciting. It's one of the things I see on your Twitter quite often, alongside coin join versus female join, and looking at these two different implementations and seeing which is better. I'm still not decided. I've been looking since you posted that last one, and I haven't decided what's better, coin join or female join. I'm leaning towards the second one.
Why not both?
Maybe it's post mix and then move on to the female join. It's good.
I like to make people smile online. That's the thing. That's why I'm silly like that. I I don't like to be so serious when I'm on social media. I like to just to bug out. To be fun. I'm serious when it comes to coding. When I'm talking about working on a project. I have a different side there. I'm more focused. I but mostly I like to play around and joke around, and I I had a lot of experience in my life, bad experiences, good experiences, so I know how it is to be, at the bottom, and I know how it is to be at the top. So I know both spectrum, so I appreciate everything in the middle.
Yeah, you've got to have some fun on Twitter. It's a nice place to blow off a little bit of steam, and like it can get a bit too serious sometimes. So it's always fun. Like I always enjoy scrolling through, and I either see, you're ripping the piss out of one of these central bankers, or you're posting something that lights my eyes up, like the last one. But it keeps it fun, and I think that's really important. Is that we change the world, but we do it with a smile on our face, and no matter what comes up against us, we all look after each other, have some fun, and don't take life too seriously.
Amen.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, listen, I don't want to take time away from your family. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat to me. And
Well,
yeah,
thank you
it's
for
been
having
fun.
me.
I hope if I do get out to Miami, we can have a drink together or something.
It sounds good. We're gonna have a nice crib over there, so let me know. You're welcome to come.
Awesome. All right, mate. Thanks very much and enjoy your day with the family.
Likewise, and take care.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Cheers.